Well, greetings. Good day, everyone. We're here at the Inglewood Cemetery in Inglewood, California, which is home to the famous LAX International Airport. I'm going to try to do my video in between airplanes landing, because that is a distraction. That right there in front of you is the Manchester Garden Mausoleum. And Johnny is buried over here in the Chapel of Honor, and we're going to go in there in a minute or two. This will be a video about Johnny's life and career. And I'm going to have a comment or two to make about the quality of work he did, which incidentally was very, very good. Now, Inglewood Cemetery, you may be interested to know, is the burial place of quite a few famous people. There's Betty Grable. She was an actress. She was the favorite pinup girl of our fighting men in World War II. There was Cesar Romero. You may remember him as the suave Latin lover, the actor, the dancer, the Cisco Kid. He played a Cisco Kid in a number of movies, and of course, he's very famous for being the Joker in the TV series Batman. There's Ella Fitzgerald, the famous singer. She's known as the Queen of Jazz. There's Ray Charles. You remember him, Hit the Road Jack, Georgia on My Mind, Can't Stop Loving You. He's buried here. Sugar Ray Robinson, the famous fighter, with his classy and flamboyant fighting style. He was a bit like Muhammad Ali that way. And of course, there's a really beloved guy named William Thomas, who died at 46 years of age in 1980. You probably remember him. He played Buckwheat in the Hal Roach series, The Little Rascals. He was Buckwheat. Yeah, he's buried here. We're going to be talking about Johnnie Cochran. Johnny was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, October 2nd, 1937. His family, he was born in Shreveport. The family moved over here to Los Angeles when he was a child. His father was a very successful insurance salesman. Johnny, however, became a lawyer. Sorry, folks, had to pause the video for another passing airplane. The Johnnie Cochran firm still exists today. He died in 2005. They handle cases of discrimination, unfair labor, employment situations, police misconduct, wrongful death, sexual harassment. His firm is located at 4929 Wilshire Boulevard. I have a very loose connection to that address. I actually worked in that very same building for, I think it was 2 or 3 months back in 1994 when I was doing workers' comp assignments. Johnny's office was 1 floor below us. One of my co-workers said occasionally he could hear him on the phone through the floor. That was something. Anyway, Johnny represented some very famous people like Sean Combs, Michael Jackson, Tupac Shakur, Stanley Tookie Williams. Stanley Tookie Williams is in prison now. He was on death row, but he came off. Jim Brown, Snoop Dogg, the beating victim Reginald Denny in the 1992 LA riots. Geronimo Pratt. Johnnie Cochran represented Geronimo Pratt, who was a member of the Black Panther Party. Anyway, and of course, he's most famous for the defense attorney of being the defense attorney of OJ Simpson. Let's go over here to his grave. He's here in the Chapel of Honor. He passed the bar exam in 1963. By the late 1970s, he had well established his reputation in LA among the black community. He litigated a number of high-profile and low-profile cases. This is This is Johnny's parents, Johnny Sr. and Maddie Cochran. It's his mother. And Johnny is right here. Johnny, you may not know this, but he used to work for the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. He was a deputy district attorney back in the 60s. He told the story of how while he was a district attorney, he was driving through some part of Los Angeles, I think it was Beverly Hills or something, and he was pulled over by the police. Police drew out guns, told him to get out of the car. He had his children with him. The children were frightened. And Johnny showed them his credentials. He showed them who he is, that he's deputy district attorney. They apologized to him, said that a car similar to his was seen in a robbery. But anyway, nothing happened to Johnny or his children at that time, but the children were scared. Johnny told that story as to illustrate that minorities in LA at the time were disadvantaged. And the police he said that the police had a thing about them. So he left the LA District Attorney's office and established his own practice as a defense attorney. He had a well-honed rhetoric and flamboyance in the courtroom. You could see it during the OJ Simpson trial. He was much like Melvin Belli, if you remember him. He was a very famous lawyer. He was Jack Ruby's defense lawyer. Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald. Melvin Belli, his name is out there. Anyway, this is not about Melvin Belli, but Johnnie Cochran was a bit like him. Johnny liked to say that he not only worked for the OJs of the world, but also the no-Js. He would represent anyone. Personally, I think that he did a good work. We need defense against overreaching prosecutors, abusive police officers, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think Johnny was wrong in doing that. I think the role of defense attorneys is very, very needed in our society, even in 2024. I think, though, where Johnny went wrong was at the OJ Simpson trial, where the whole thing was basically, the police department essentially were put on trial instead of OJ Simpson. I started to listen to Johnnie Cochran's closing arguments, because I didn't follow the trial at the time. I listened to his closing arguments. It turned out that they were over 7 hours long, so I just listened to the first hour and a half, and he was very, very good. The difficulty I have, though, is personally I believe that OJ was guilty. I believe he did commit those horrible crimes. And most of Johnny's arguments, his closing defense, was rebutted by Vincent Bugliosi. I'm going to put the spelling of Vincent Bugliosi's name in the description. Vincent wrote a book called Five Reasons Why O.J. Simpson Got Away with Murder, and he was very, very thorough. So anyway, I think Johnny he strayed off of a good path by turning this particular case into a referendum on the LA police. And it wasn't, the LA police weren't the ones on trial. O.J. Simpson was. And there's very powerful evidence that O.J. Simpson was the guilty guy. Anyway, in spite of that, I think Johnny did a good thing. I think as far as being a defense lawyer, and you gotta have defense lawyers. Criminal defense lawyers often get demonized because sometimes the guilty go free, but there is a place for them. We need them. I mean, if it wasn't for them, you would have, basically our system of justice would be replaced by Stalinism or Maoism. You don't want that, where you're guilty unless proven innocent, and even if you're innocent, you're still guilty. You don't want a system like that. We need good defense lawyers. But defense lawyers themselves are not perfect, and they're subject to not just mistakes, but sometimes grave errors. Anyway, Johnny died from a brain tumor in March 29th, 2005 at his home. He was only 67 years old, brain tumor, poor guy. And here he lies. His funeral was attended by many famous people like Michael Jackson. OJ Simpson came to his funeral, so I guess OJ was, in 2005, was probably standing right where I'm standing now, which is kind of a strange feeling. Anyway, Johnny, because of the O.J. Simpson trial, became quite a celebrity. His Johnnie Cochran firm expanded to other cities. And as I say, I think as defense lawyers, they're doing a good job in keeping the police in check and keeping overreaching prosecutors in check. As long as they're ethical in the court, which I don't think any lawyer is 100%. So this is Johnny. I could only hope that Johnny died at peace with God.